Hey, Wayne. It's Wayne's World and Kelly. And our guest is Rudy Martin from M2E Engineering. And what is it? Episode 60?
62.
I looked up at my monitor. I cheated. I feel bad. But before we get started, Mary Lou Retton, who is somewhere between, I think she's somewhere around Wayne's age, is in the hospital and she can't breathe. She has pneumonia. So
I saw that yesterday. Yeah.
Yeah.
Olympic icon.
So, everybody to pray for her and also pray for Israel, for God's sakes. That's huge. But it's kind of shocking. And one of the reasons I'm bringing it up is because Rudy is coming off being, a little bit under the weather. I've had a cough for 2 weeks, although I've been trugging along the whole time. But it's just, you got to be careful with your health. And I mean, Rudy and I are two of the healthiest people I know. And Wayne always is healthy, but Wayne's never sick. So
Never.
I feel like I'm definitely above average when it comes to health with eating and working out. And I had COVID. This is the second time. And I think a lot of it has to do with travel and getting ran down. I went to Orlando, then from Orlando, I went to Tampa, then Tampa, I came home, then I did a night event. And I feel just like maybe all those different cities and, getting a little run down, your immune system gets a little weak and it finds a hole and it penetrates the armor. So,
right. But just traveling in itself is stressful enough now. So I can see how you got worn down. It's crazy out there, whether you're on the road or in an airport.
A peaceful 2.5 hour drive to Orlando. I'll schedule some calls, but I'll have about an hour of just focus time. No radio, quiet.
Yep.
It's great. It's great.
Next time I get my car serviced, how they always go, would you like to get your air filter cleaned and your interior cabin filter? Usually I'm like, that's just some kind of, it's like going to the circus and they're trying to sell you those little things that light up.
I love those things,
I'm probably going to go in there and just have it changed. I'm not waiting for my next oil change.
Do you not buy the light up things at the circus?
I don't. No, I used to have a deal with Maddie, my Maddie, not yours. And I used to say, because we both have a daughter, Maddie, I'll take you to the circus, and usually I said you can't get anything. They're hustlers. I used to try to teach her early on. These guys are hustlers. They get you in for a cheap ticket, and then they're trying to sell you all the things at the event. And I don't like being sold. Let's just keep on going with that. I met with a chiropractor recently, and I went to I was going to change dentist recently, and both of them, I felt half the appointment was a sales pitch. And, all three of us are in sales and business development all of our lives. I love somebody that knows what they're talking about. I don't love somebody that's trying to sell me. And
what were they selling you, like a root canal or what? I don't get it.
No, the first one was actually kind of interesting. I need to do more research. Was they want you to spend like $20,000 and they're going to completely take all the metal out of your mouth and they're going to dig down to your gums, down to like your navel,
Nice.
and I think it sounds like it's probably fairly homeopathically smart, but it was such a sales pitch. But the chiropractor was worse. I mean, it's like, tell you what we're going to do. We're going to have you come in here for 3 months, for on every Wednesday, you pick the time. And then we're gonna, and it's $28.95. But if you do it today, we'll do it for $24.95. But we're gonna throw in another treatment. And
I literally feel like when I go there to the doctor or anywhere except my doctor, but the dentist and the chiropractor and stuff like that, it's almost like, remember all those pop-ups that used to hit your screen? Like the last 10 minutes, they just switch and they're like, buy now, 24 months, clean your teeth, buy this package for your, here's a family plan, sign here. And you're like, dude, I just want to get my teeth cleaned. Like, let me out of here. No, thank you. No, thank you. No, thank you. Well, you really need it. I know what I need, thanks.
And it's crazy. So then I go over to who I actually promoted on LinkedIn. I can't say her name. She's a homeopathic, or I think it says oriental doctor. I don't know if that's words allowed to use anymore, but she does, and she's not inexpensive, but you get what you pay for. She does acupuncture. She does I'm looking around to see if I have any of it, but nothing's close to me. All these herbs. She's an herbalist and all that. And she knocked out most of my whatever the heck I had like that. Not to mention she made my elbow, my right Achilles, and my lower back, and what else feel 100% better when I walked out of that place. And she didn't even mention price. She just tells me what I'm paying her when I'm walking out. And you know,
but when you trust people, that's how it is.
Exactly. And I do. I tell you what, I don't know when I'm going to go back to a regular doctor ever again, because I've been going to her for a while, but I've gotten putting more and more faith in her. Because I think she just cares and knows what she's talking about. She's not trying to pay for her condo on the beach.
It's funny when you find people you trust, you don't even, price is irrelevant. And I've bought homes and renovated them and lived in them. And I'm probably on my like third or fourth one. And like my tile guy, I'm like, hey, Jerome, can you come do my tile? And he goes, yeah. And at the end I go, okay, how much do I owe you? I don't even ask in the beginning because I just know he's going to do a great job. I know that he's fair. Same with my drywall guy, same with my painter. And then I'll recommend him to other people. And they're like, how much is he? And I'm like, I don't even ask. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, just have him do the work and he'll just give you a bill. And they're like, well, I can't do that. I'm like, if you're looking for someone you trust, then, you know,
dude, that's old school. That really is. Is that how you got your start in the industry?
So my start in the industry, let's go back. Do you have music like Twilight music and it kind of waves out and we go to like a different scene? Do you guys have those?
No, but we have candles and incense from Kelly's visit with the acupuncture. Stop.
So how'd I get in the industry? I was always in sales since fourth grade. I would just always remember selling. And then eventually I got to Wall Street. I had my 7 and my 63 where I was a wealth advisor. Then 9/11 happened and I wanted to switch careers. I also owned a construction company right out of high school. I sold that at a very young age. Then I went to Wall Street. Then I got back into like the supply industry with like Fortune 500 companies like Home Depot, HD Supply. I worked my way up the ranks there. I was kind of done with corporate America. And then I went to work with some of the vendors. So I kind of have a hotel background, construction supply background, construction background. Then I kind of went back to the construction side on paint and concrete restoration. And then I met Misha and Vlada actually through Kelly. And we sat down, we had lunch. It looked like an exciting opportunity. So I've been over at m2e for about almost 2 years.
Wow. Time flies. So we can mention Granger. And the reason I like to mention Granger, who you were with, and I know several people in the industry that were with them. Apparently, I don't know if they just pick really great people to come work for them, or they have a really great training program, or a combination of the two. But some of the most talented people I've met over the years have been Granger grown. Is that fair?
So I was at HD Supply first. I made the switch to Granger, and then I actually went back to HD Supply, and that was just situational. And I'll tell you what, Granger, HD Supply is where I met one of my mentors, and he turned me on to self-enrichment. And that self-enrichment of reading and consuming stuff that isn't a requirement of your job or your place just to make yourself better changed my life for sure. Granger, they do have a strict vetting process, and their training, they fly you to Chicago. You're there for 2 weeks. It's absolutely top-notch amazing. If there's any young professional that's kind of coming and wants to be in sales and kind of that supply chain, go to Granger, get the amazing training. Their company is it's just very, very, very well run. So I've got great things to say about both HD Supply and Granger, where I get my Fortune 500 training. And then once you get that training and you go to a smaller mid-market, it's not that difficult to implement all of those things that you've learned into kind of a smaller company.
Tell me about the self-enrichment part. Give Kelly and I and everybody some examples of some of the folks that you've studied that have made a big impact on you, because we're always looking for that kind of information exchange.
So the first week I was there, I had success. So I went to HD Supply, and there were 600 reps in the company. And the first year I was the #1 rep in the entire organization. Went to President's Club. Okay. And that was just from straight hustle. That was me carrying my catalog. I was in the hotel sector. We sold everything to the engineering and housekeeping department. This is when you could walk in without an appointment. I'd park my truck, and it was just frequency, and it was just a little bit of being naive and having no blinders on and just going in there and connecting with people and literally trying to help them and really caring about them. And my boss, Randy, at the time said, hey, you're doing a great job, but it's only going to get you so far. Because one of the things that kind of hurts you is your education. Because I was actually a high school dropout.
Okay.
So he goes, what you didn't learn in college is available to you. What you don't know about account management, what you don't know about project management, what you don't know about leadership, you don't have to go to college for that. There's books out there. Listen to them, read them. You don't have to study it and like the gospel from front to back and know everything about it, but just pick it up and digest a little bit of it every day. Commit 15 minutes. And I committed 15 minutes and he's like, commit a half hour, then commit an hour. So I just started consuming all this stuff. And I felt like I was like the Goodwill Hunting of sales, didn't really have the background and, you know, college was definitely not something that I ever thought about. It's probably one of my largest regrets not going, looking back at it now, but so I just consumed. And when I just started consuming, I was like, hey, I can do this. And I'm just as good as the other guys. And I always had the attitude, you know, those guys that are sitting at the other side of the table, they put their pants on one leg at a time, just like me. So whatever, and I lacked confidence. And there's only two ways to get confidence. It's either experience or preparation. So what I lacked in experience, I had to make up for preparation. So when I left a meeting, they were talking about HVAC chillers. I just Googled HVAC chillers and I spent an hour just reading all about that. So I didn't look like an idiot during the next conversation. So the first book that I ever read, probably ever read, not even as like book reports. I don't think I've ever finished a book from front to cover in high school. Like I would read it and I'd be like, okay, ADD's kicking in, I'm out of here. So the first book I ever read cover to cover was Jeffrey Gitomer's Little Red Book of Selling.
I've read it. I have it. Yeah.
So that was the first book. And I was like, man, this guy's like talking to me. This book is actually interesting. And he's telling you kind of tactics, what to do. And, you know, take a garbage can and walk in there and throw your flyer right in the garbage can and say, hey, you're going to do this to my flyer anyway. I thought I'd save you the time and sit down and, you know, break the conversation. So one thing that I've always had is kind of a good personality, outgoing. You know, my wife thinks I'm funny. I think that's why she married me. A couple other people do. So I've always been able to get engaged with people. And so reading those books just gave me a little bit more confidence, and then polishing up on some of the technical stuff. Then I read, you know, all the basics, you know, how to win friends and influence people. And then probably one of my favorite books in business is Never Split the Difference, Negotiate Like Your Life Depended on It by Chris Voss. That taught me how to get really technical in selling and some of the tactics with mirroring and tactical empathy.
And you've
now,
all
like when
come prepared to do hostage negotiations.
I feel like I wouldn't be horrible at it.
I thought that I had mixed emotions about that book. I don't believe in splitting anything because we come out and we put our best foot forward.
Right.
But this guy's comparing sales to, you know, when he was with the FBI doing negotiations for people that have been kidnapped. I think it's an interesting concept, but it has a lot of good takeaways. But I thought he was a little bit full of himself.
Yeah, like every book, I don't think I've found a book besides one that I fully subscribe to, that I take as gospel. One's the Bible.
Right. One's the gospel.
Right? One's the gospel. And the other one is a book called The Happiness Advantage by Sean Archer. And that's more of a personal development book instead of a business book. But there's pearls of wisdom in all of them, because I'm skeptical. You know, even the Chris Voss book, I'm reading, I'm going, don't agree with that, but I agree with this. But if you could take just one or two pearls of wisdom out of each book, it makes you a better person. You know, makes you better. Is a
book, but I grew up in DC near a lot of FBI people, and it was interesting.
With it, and he says in the book, this isn't just for sales. This is with your wife. This is with your kids. Learning to negotiate with them. And now, like, it's not even a fair fight. Like, if my wife, if we're negotiating something,
oh, hey, let's bring her in.
Or my kids, I go through the, my 9-year-old Maddie, she's the negotiator. She's always trying to cut a deal. So it's just a good book. It was a book that I was able to actually put into practice. So it was one of my favorite books.
Kids don't take no for an answer. You know, a lot of people lose that ability as adults. Now I subscribe to the great philosopher Kenny Rogers too, though. You know, you have to know when to hold them and know when to fold them, know when to walk away. And
I thought it was Coward of the County, but sorry.
So
So-
those are some of my favorite books.
Did you ever read Og Mandino?
No.
Og Mandino wrote a book called The Greatest Salesman in the World. It's like 99 pages or 103 pages. And then he also wrote some other stuff. Absolutely phenomenal. Og Mandino, write it, pick it up. It's my big book suggestion today. So let's go back to your family. Let's go back to your grandfather and your mother a little bit, because that's what makes Rudy Rudy.
Yeah.
Rudy.
So I'm named after Rudolph Kniesny. So Rudolph Kniesny was the brother of my grandfather, Adolf Kniesny. They were Polish. They came over from Poland, and they kind of settled in Adams, Massachusetts, and they were big downhill skiers. So the downhill skiing was huge in my family. My grandfather actually owned a ski shop at the base of the mountain. My mom grew up skiing. When we were in Michigan, we were young, we grew up skiing. But when my grandfather and his brother Rudolph were growing up, they would use, they would plane their own skis out of wood. They would strap them to their feet, no technology, and they would ski. And there was a hill they trained on called the Thunderbolt Ski Trail. Until this day, they do some training for slalom racing and stuff like that. But to this day, he still holds the fastest time trial on the Thunderbolt Ski Trail. To that point where the skiers rest at the top, they have a covered area to protect themselves from the snow and the elements until they're ready to go race. That's actually called Rudy's Rest. So the Olympics were coming up. They were very hopeful about the Olympics, and then the war started. So he was in the 10th Mountain Division, and that's the skiing division of the Army. And he actually was deployed over in Italy. And his platoon actually stopped a huge flank from the enemy, where he and his platoon lost his life. So they actually wrote a book about him about 3 or 4 years ago called The Boys of Winter. And it talks about my grandfather and my namesake Rudolph growing up in the hills of Adams, Massachusetts, and it covers a few other people. So in that Massachusetts area of like Mount Greylock and stuff, there's a museum that has a lot of his stuff in it. So he was pretty well loved and well decorated. And my grandfather had a lot of success after, because he couldn't go to the war because he was actually born with a premature arm. So he kind of had a disability. So he wasn't able to go to the war, even though he said he wished he would have. So that's some of my heritage that we're kind of proud of. And even though we live in Florida, we try to go skiing at least 2, if not 3 times a year.
And then wasn't your mom like a snow dancer or whatever?
Yeah, my mom did snow ballet. So, I mean, my mom, when she was on the mountain, first of all, she taught, she was on the ski patrol and she taught ski lessons, all that stuff. But she always would have everyone has unique outfits now because everybody kind of wants to be, seen. Back then it was, very traditional, but she either had a jet silver jumpsuit on with like a big babushka on her head that was like furry, or she had like a cowboy hat with, a big feather in it. She had some style out there on the mountain. So she would ski, and then she'd lift her ski up and she'd twist her leg and she'd put it and she'd twist and she'd kind of do these 360s all the way down the mountain. She was pretty remarkable. There was many times that we would just go out for the season or just for like a week or so to Tahoe, sort of Vancouver, or to all these cool places. And people would come up to her and be like, you ski amazing. I loved watching you ski. And my mom would be like, thank you. Not like once or twice, like 4 or 5 different times in a week's time, people would be coming up to my mom being like, I've never seen anybody ski like you. You just ski so graceful. And it was pretty cool growing up.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. Back when we were young, I remember them having that on TV, the snow ballet or ski ballet, whatever they called it. I haven't seen it forever, but when I met you 4 or 5 years ago and you were telling me about it, I was having flashbacks, and maybe I'm just watching the wrong channel in the winter. Yeah, but it's pretty cool.
The Winter Olympics, my mom comes over, we watch it. I think I like the Winter Olympics actually more than the Summer Olympics. We love the Winter Olympics.
Yeah, it all comes back to what I started our conversation with our little gymnast.
Yeah.
That's back when I was a kid, that's all we did is want to watch the Olympics. And now I couldn't even tell you when they're coming up. But
Next year, I think they're in Paris.
are they? Oh,
Summer.
there
we?
we go.
We-
So from what you were doing in the hospitality world, how's that moved into the engineering world for you?
It's all the same. And it's pretty much, the core of it is pretty much all the same. You've got to really care about people and you've got to really want to help them. And if that's your core and that's your center, you're going to have success. And it doesn't matter if you're selling sheets and towels. It doesn't matter if you're selling hospitality, FF&E, furniture, fixtures, and equipment. It doesn't matter if you're selling paint and concrete restoration. It doesn't matter if you're selling engineering products. It doesn't matter if you're selling rubber dog shit from Hong Kong. Like, if you care about your customer, that's all that really, really, really matters at your core. The skill set's very the same. Sales is not difficult. It's getting access to people that have access to opportunity. And then once you do that, finding out what they value. And if you have an offering it to them. And the philosophy that I teach my team is don't sell them, just like us in the dentist's office, right? Like, people hate to be sold, but they love to buy. Right?
So true.
Just present the information. I'll make the decision if there's value there. And that's what we're trying to do here. And that will be my philosophy forever.
I got a question regarding your philosophy. Kelly and I have talked nonstop about, sales and kind of how to do it. And, one thing I've been kind of getting, I'm amazed at how complicated that a lot of people trying to sell you, like motivational speakers, buying the books. It's all good. And I think it's all helpful, but I think they've really made something very easy. Like you just described it, telling us it's hard. It really isn't if you follow the principles of helping people, just like you said. I'm amazed at the seminars I've went to and the books they try and get you to buy. And, like the Sandler method, which is, objection-based selling, how to overcome an objection. If you're trying to overcome someone's objection, you have already lost. I don't care. Get out of the room. Because this isn't about being in an adversarial position, trying to get someone to come onto your side. It's offering to help. Plain and simple as that, right?
Yeah, I agree. Those books are great and they give you confidence, maybe a false sense of confidence, which is kind of something that you might want, before you go into, battle's the wrong term to use in this, day and age, especially what's going on in Israel. But, before you kind of get out there and you meet the customer and you're trying to come over adversity, it's really simple. It's just, it really is simple. And they do try to make it harder, because if they make it harder, then they feel like they're bringing value. And the books are great, but sometimes put down the book and just do it, man. Just go out there and do it. Like the book is great. It's great theory, and theory always looks good on paper sometimes. But the fact of the matter is, sales is still numbers. Sales is still frequency. And if anybody wants to increase their sales, tell them to call me and I'll ask them what their frequency is. And if they increase their frequency by 50%, then they'll be able to increase their sales. It's really, really that simple.
Unless they really suck at what they're doing. If you go in there and try to keep sell, you can move your frequency up tenfold and you're still not going to get better at it. You better be coming from the right place when you're trying to offer your goods and services.
I agree.
So that's it. A baseball player, if I get up to bat, 100 times in playing in the major leagues versus a guy who is improving and better, he's going to get a better. I'm going to be batting at 0 in the majors, most likely. Pretty sure that's what would happen. So I don't, you follow me on that philosophy?
Yeah, it's all frequency. It's all getting reps in. It's all getting quality in. I learned at a young age that practice doesn't make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect.
Right.
So I think all those kind of core things that you were taught when you were younger and you didn't realize them, all those old sayings, ignorance is bliss and all those things, they're like coming to, they're starting to hit me when I get a little bit older in my 30s and 40s and stuff, when I got a little bit older, and I'm like, wow, there's a reason that those old time sayings have rung true for so long. You know,
Right.
they actually do make sense. You can't be happy with anybody else until you're happy with yourself. Like all that stuff is very, very true.
Yeah, it's got attitude adjustment. I think in Japan they call it Kaizen, always improving.
Yeah.
But it's to me it's attitude. And if I might sometimes my expressions on my face aren't indicative to what I'm feeling. And I'm very cognizant of that. And so like I was under the weather for the last couple of weeks, but I was still working the whole time. But my lungs just don't to be operating as well as they used to pre catching COVID. So things linger. But so apparently my face wasn't my, happy, smiley face. And I had a few people say, "Hey, what's wrong? What's going on?" I'm like, "Oh man, I got to be conscious of that." And then, so then I purposely am putting a smile on my face and you get better results. I mean, it's something as simple as that. But if you're thinking about, what your spouse just said to you, or maybe you're at the White House and that dog bit you like it's bit everybody else, shake it off, and go in there and be happy to see these people. They see through the BS. So if you're naturally happy to be where you are and it's offering the service you're doing, it goes a long way.
You've got to, people bringing value first is another important thing. I'll do a lot of webinars. I'll offer that every time we give a proposal, we do a proposal review to teach them, because our proposals are written by engineers and sometimes they can be confusing to the common people that are reading them. So bringing value first with education, understanding the process. Sales is about trust too. Whether you're buying this shirt because you trust that it looks good and you're going to get the attention you want because of the quality, like everything comes down to trust. You're buying the things because you trust them. There used to be things way back in the day called legacy brands, GE, Whirlpool, Ford, Chevy. People were Ford guys. No, I'm a Ford guy because it's a legacy brand and my grandpa had one and my dad had one. The generation is different now. The legacy brands are gone. People are like, Whirlpool? Who cares? I just got this at IKEA. I can't imagine buying a stove where I'm away from IKEA. Maybe it's a great product. I don't know. But maybe I think I'm in the middle between like old school and new school at 47. But, some of those legacy brands still ring true to me. But I also know that they've cheapened the product so much that the legacy brands really don't mean as much as they kind of used to. So sales is different. Sales is about trust, and you can't have that trust unless that person has all the information they need to make an educated decision about your sale. Right.
Well, that kind of says even if it's a legacy reputation, you better still keep up with your game. I went shopping. A neighbor of mine, she says I dress terribly and I can't argue with her. That's why I usually like to wear, company stuff. And so we went out to Sawgrass and we're buying some things and she's advising me, and I'm also kind of frugal when it comes to clothes because I don't care about it. But we walked into MK, Michael Kors, because my daughter's initials are MK. I go, we got to go in there. And I actually bought a shirt that says MK on it. It felt like a really nice shirt. It's more than I normally would pay for a shirt. But they also had some really nice sunglasses. So I said, let me try them on. I got, not today. And when we walked out the door, I said, they felt like $5 sunglasses and they were selling them for like $100. That legacy of MK products kind of fell flat when it went to their sunglasses. I think they were just trying to grab more money at that point. Sort of like the stuff they sell at the circus.
Yeah, you have to be careful with branding. You have to be careful with kind of doing a know-it-all. I remember when I was in the hotel industry, I remember when I was actually, a lesson that taught me this, like kind of stay in your lane, is when I was surfing. And I was surfing with a few of, actually, Scott, my brother-in-law, that my sister and Scott were high school sweethearts. They were a little bit older than me. They took me out. We were surfing, and there was this guy named Matt, and Matt always had the latest and the coolest stuff. And this is when Tommy Hilfiger came out. And Matt paddled out like kind of a few hours after we were already out there. And he's like, hey, check out my new board shorts. They're Tommy Hilfiger board shorts. And my buddy Brian looked at him and goes, what does Tommy Hilfiger know about surfing? And it actually rang true. And I still remember it. And it's such a huge life lesson, because I remember when I was on part of a development team, when we're developing soaps and shampoos for for the hotel industry, and I was in a group, and they were looking to kind of put their name on it, you know, and the hotel's like, oh, well, we should put our name on everything. And I'm like, you're a hotel, you're not a shampoo company. The trust is going to come from a trusted brand, you know, whatever the brand is, you know, L'Oreal or what's the guy that had the ponytail and the really bad hair?
Jean something.
Salon.
Paul Mitchell.
Paul Mitchell. Yep.
Paul Mitchell. Like, that's where the trust comes from. Like, don't put just any name on a shampoo. Like, why don't you just put it on a block of cheese while you're at it? You know, because you know just as much as about shampoo as you do block of cheese. So I tell my kids, and my kids are young, and we're watching commercials, and I'm like, what are they trying to sell you? Like, I don't want my kids to be suckers. You know, I'm like, what are they trying to sell you? And they're like, they're trying to sell you this. I'm like, yep. I'm like, you see all those ads popping up? They're trying to sell you something. Some stuff you might need. You know, unfortunately, my son's a sneakerhead, and he always wants to buy these shoes, and that's fine. He's young. He's into his thing. But just because a shirt, you know, I give them the story of Old Navy, Gap, and Banana Republic. They're all the same company. It's all the same t-shirt. Yep. One's $5. One's $25 and one's $45. Don't be a sucker and buy the $45 t-shirt when you can buy the one at Old Navy for $5, because it's literally the same white t-shirt with just a different logo, you know? Right. So we have that conversation with our kids and trying to raise them right.
Do you know they sell dress shirts for like $1,000?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they don't sell them to me, but I'm like, you are out of your mind, Michelle. I am not. Gee, there's
dress shirts, I don't get it. Suits and shoes, I get it. There could be a quality factor there in suits and shoes.
I like
but shirts,
quality shoes. And I'll tell, like, hey, dudes, not quality.
No.
But you're paying $50 a pop. But, you know.
The sunglasses I wear now are called blenders, and they're like $30 to $60. And it was a couple guys that left Costa or Oakley or whatever, and they started their own sunglass company, but they want to make relatively priced stuff. I'm not responsible enough for a nice pair of sunglasses. I'm not that big of an adult. You know, $300 sunglasses, I got them a week. I lose them. I step on them. I crack them. And I'm like, I can't have nice stuff. $60 sunglasses, the same quality all day long.
And time is past time. I just looked down. We're like 7 minutes past. Holy smokes. who's in charge of it?
Half-hour show? I thought it was an hour show.
25-minute show. 25.
Rudy, you crushed it, man. Your sales philosophy and your hustle and everything. You know, when Kelly and I started this, we just wanted to say, if we can reach one person that watches our show and change something about, you know, their life, we think we've done a good job. I think you've helped a lot of people out there, definitely, regarding your sales tactics and your hustle.
And
just want to tell you, appreciate you, brother.
At my core, I really want to help people. And whether they work for me now and they want to get a position within my company, or they want to get a position outside my company, I've probably placed, and there's a lot of people out there that will watch this and know, I've probably placed people, I'm going to say probably 50 or 60 jobs where I'm like, hey, I know a guy. Hey, I know a guy. I'm always trying to help people, you know, better themselves. So if anybody's watching this and they have any questions about a career move or a life move or anything like that, give me a call, shoot me an email. I'd love to help. I'm always here to help.
How can they reach you?
They can call me 954-621-7674. I never put my phone on silent. I never put an out of box on. I've been here a couple of years, and the place I was before, even when I go on vacation, I never have my out of office on. So I'm always available.
Awesome.
I'm on silent right now because, you know, we're recording. So we've gotten a bunch of calls while we've been on. It's like, do people, what is this, episode 62, for goodness sakes? Why would you call me at this time on Wednesday? They do.
Yeah. Well, it was
Awesome.
fun, guys. It was a lot of fun.
I
Thank you,
appreciate
sir, for coming on.
Yep.
See you out there at the next event, whatever is going on. Everybody, and keep your prayers for our little gymnasts, and pray for Israel. Man, this is real hardcore stuff. So, but
I was off for 2 days, you know, lying on the couch, and I was watching the coverage, and I kind of wish I wasn't sick at that time because that coverage was overwhelming. So yes, pray for them for sure.
Awesome. Okay.
Hey, thanks guys. And we'll see you soon. Have a good one.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.